You want me to? Sure.
You were cute for a few seconds. Yeah. Exactly.
Good evening. I'd like to call the November 2019 General Services Committee meeting to order. I'd like to welcome back Chairman Gray to, well, he's in the nose down in the corner there, but thanks for filling in, Scott. You got to do it twice this month, right? So I'm sure, Pat, you can jab him a couple times. He usually does that for Jimmy, but thanks for filling in, Scott. Okay, so at this time, are there any additions, corrections, deletions to the minutes? Hearing none. Pause. Hearing none. We'll accept them. At this time, we'd like to open up privilege of the floor. And hearing none, we'll go straight into the resolutions.
First one this evening is authorizing agreement with the New York State Unified Court System for cleaning and maintenance of court facilities.
No offense, guys, but I only have to look over this way, so don't try and trick me by raising your hands. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow. Mr. Doldo. Discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, authorizing agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services in relation to aid to prosecution program.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Gray, Mr. Doldo, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize an agreement in relation to the fiscal year 19 Emergency Management Performance Grant.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow. Mr. Doldo, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize an extension of agreement with Blue Wing Services Incorporated for engineering services relative to the county's public safety communications system.
Popular topic tonight. Motion, please. Mr. Doldo, Mr. Jarrow, discussion. All good? All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize an agreement with the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services in relation to the Federal Domestic Preparedness Equipment Program and amending the 2020 county budget in relation thereto.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Doldo, Mr. Jarrow, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorize an agreement in relation to the fiscal year 2019 New York State Public Safety Answering Points Operations Grant.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow. Mr. Gray, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Amending the 2019 county budget in relation to road and road machinery funds.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow, Mr. Doldo, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Amending the 2019 county budget in relation to recycling and waste management.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow, Mr. Doldo, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next is amending the 2019 county budget in relation to recycling and waste management.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Doldo, Mr. Jarrow, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement with the Development Authority of the North Country for provision of operations and maintenance services.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Doldo, Mr. Jarrow, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Accepting grant for ignition interlock and device monitoring program funding.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Doldo, Mr. Jarrow, discussion. Discussion. Are we trading votes? Discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement with Rebensol and Knutson & Associates for provision of psychological testing, evaluation, and recommendations for treatments of JD, PINs, at-risk about-a-home placement, and adult sexual offenders.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow, Mr. Doldo, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement with the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services in relation to aid to defense program.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Jarrow, Mr. Doldo, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Authorizing agreement amending the 2020 county budget in relation to the state fiscal year 19 state law enforcement terrorism prevention program grant.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Doldo, Mr. Gray, discussion. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're getting it.
Authorizing agreements for the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee Stop DWI Crackdown Enforcement Grant and amending the 2019 county budget in relation thereto.
May I have a motion, please? Mr. Doldo, Mr. Gray, discussion. Just going to let it go. All in favor, aye? Opposed? So, it's 3-1, then it doesn't count. Those don't count as no's.
Yeah,
But they do count as no. And it's in a committee meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Negative
It's a negative
recommendation.
recommendation.
So, with the absence of 1, 2, 3.
3, 4.
So we'll send it up to Finance and Rules. It's your baby now. Thanks. Thanks, Mike. No. The ball is in your court. I mean, so, okay. Moves to Finance and Rules with negative recommendation.
Approving the 2020 stock CWI.
Have a motion, Mr. Gerald? Mr. Dolo? Mr. Gray? Discussion? All in favor, aye? Opposed? Okay. Same as the last resolution. Runs up to Finance and Rules with negative recommendation. In your packet, you have the monthly departmental reports, planning, and weights and measures. We would like to, well, Joe can make the introduction, but we do have a new Deputy Director of Fire and Emergency Management, Mr. Neil Rivenberg. And would you like to make the introduction, please?
Sure. Well,
About time you
glad
got somebody.
I'm glad to see that we did get a deputy director, and it's somebody that's been able to hit the ground running. And Neil, if you'd stand up, Neil Rivenberg is doing a great job. We've been here, he's lasted, what, 10 weeks we're at, so he hasn't run away from me yet, so that's a good thing. But he's doing very well. It's really, like I said, it's great to have somebody able to hit the floor running and get going, so.
He does have experience with
He's
the
got
radio.
about quite a few years of experience in emergency management, and the only thing he doesn't have, and we're teaching him this, is 911 type stuff, but he's getting that and getting through that, so we're doing well. Very, very pleased and feel very fortunate we were able to get him.
Welcome aboard, Neil. Thank you. While Joe's up there, we did have and Anthony, you might want to expound on the meeting we just had for the radio project.
Wow, okay. We just had a radio ad hoc committee meeting prior to this meeting, and just laying out where things are, explaining to the committee how processes are going, and I want to bore everybody with that, but we're tentatively looking at trying to get people onto the system, second quarter of 2020 type thing. We are obviously behind. We planned on being up and running today, and I could give you a laundry list of reasons it is, but it's water under the bridge. We're getting there. But I will say one thing, and I say this very proudly standing here, that first of all, thank you for the resolution with Blue Wing. Blue Wing is doing us a fantastic job. Every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and Neil, how did you refer to them here earlier? As a pit bull. The vendors hate them, absolutely hate them, because they are, no, it says this is what you're going to do. We're getting good things out of that type thing. But I can honestly say, yes, this has been a very long, slow, methodical process, but we don't have a lot of getches jumping up at us type thing, because we've dotted every I and crossed every T as we've won. So, as the old adage says, good things come to those who wait. Just be patient, it's coming. So we're doing well there.
Well, one good compliment that Neil gave us is that we have learned from everybody else's mistakes and have hired Blue Wing, and so our project's going. It was great to hear from someone relatively new that that we've done it the right way, and it's a slower way, but it's a more cost-effective way. And that 1.7, that's not to exceed
That's
price
correct.
too. So
Yeah.
just want to make that clear on that resolution number. Was it 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for the update. And did you have something else from
Just
the
one
storm?
thing I just wanted to update the board on. If everybody remembers a month ago here, well, not quite a month ago, 3 weeks ago here on Halloween, if you were out trick-or-treating, it was not a very nice night out. Well, it was not a very nice night out in Jefferson County any place, but we ended up with some pretty substantial damage up in Clayton on the Riverwalk. I'm sure most have seen pictures of that where that's been ripped out, and I actually have some on my phone. I'll be more than happy to show you if you'd like to see. But there's some road damages out there, town of Cape Vincent, town of Lyme, town of Brownville. I know Jimmy's got some out there type stuff. Well, if you followed anything with this, the New York State Office of Emergency Management and Department of Homeland Security Emergency Services is compiling data to see if we have enough damage to send to FEMA for a presidential declaration. That's appearing, we're getting close on that. Just to throw some numbers at you, Jefferson County has to have $450,000 worth of public infrastructure damage. We've got that. That's really no big deal. Statewide, they have to come up with $29 million worth of it. But with all the damage that's happened down the Mohawk Valley and everything, we're probably well exceeding this from what the state's telling me. Last week, we had people in from State Department of Homeland Security, Emergency Services, going out to do damage assessments. Apparently, I guess if there's lack of turnout, they saw it because we're over our estimates. I don't have the exact numbers. But, and again, these are all preliminaries at this point, but I got a call and we have to go escort some FEMA representatives around to look at this damage on Thursday of this week. So that stuff is all yet to come. We've been working with the towns and villages, mostly the highway superintendents type stuff. Those are our boots on the ground there. But just a quick reminder, this is only for public infrastructures, no private property stuff. That's actually referred to as IA or individual assistance, and we're not anywhere close in that kind of world for this stuff. But it's only for damage that pertains to the Halloween storm. So, staying, more to come and go from there.
Anything for Joe? Pat?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joe, do you have an idea of where we're going to finish on the radio project as far as the total dollars?
I don't actually. I just got asked that in our meeting, and to be honest with you, numbers are all over at this point. The one thing I can tell you is that we have only, and it was approved by administration, and Scott actually signed it, was we've only done one change order for this, and that was with Motorola after we went out there. We have not done any change orders with anybody, any place for anything more. So we're still in our parameters where we were. I don't dare venture to give you a number at where it's this, but we're not way up over the top. Actually, I think you're going to find when we get said and done, you're going to be pretty happy individuals where we stand with what we have to do. So, yeah.
One change order, that's amazing for a
so far,
$20
exactly.
million project. So
Yeah.
That's good management.
Yeah. So, and I can't take credit for it. We got to put it on Blue Wing. They are doing us a good job.
Great. Anything else? Okay. Anything else for the committee? Anthony? There you
I sent out an email to everybody, I think it was Friday or the weekend. There was a resolution passed by the Warren County Board of Supervisors pertaining to the bail reform. They're asking for other counties to jump on board. I think it'd be a great idea to delay. They're looking to try to delay the bail and discovery reform laws. They're saying that it'll endanger the people of New York and reverse decades of bipartisan progress in reducing crime. It was quite a lengthy resolution, so I would ask for support from this board to look into having staff do something much smaller and get the same point across, and maybe pass something full board for December to see if we can at least attempt to put a stop to this or a delay to it.
I definitely appreciate the emails and the heads up, and we've talked to the chairman, and I just don't. And what's your thoughts, Pat?
Well, it's a long-winded resolution, but yeah, I definitely can support a resolution with the same kind of flavor.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, were you getting ready to say something?
Yeah, they could have left out all the examples of the crimes. I actually read it probably 3 times. It was very well written, but extensive, but they don't have the necessity for going through all the types of crimes. You can get the point without the nitty-gritty details like that. But I told the chairman we'd probably run it through DA, county attorney. First we'd run it through Bob and Sarah, then we run it out to the...
And I agree with you, it was well written. It will still be somewhat lengthy because there's a point to be raised, and I think without putting some of that material in it for the general public, it would get lost. So I think some examples will be necessary, but it does not need to be 3 pages. And we're working on it as we speak. It was very much late-breaking late last week. Several counties have already taken it on, and I think in the course of this week we'll see through the news media several counties also approving it as it stands because our budget cycle will be 10th, 12th, December, whenever then we'll actually approve it. But we'll bring it to the committee next meeting.
So we pretty much have a consensus. The reform actually affects quite a bit of departments under this jurisdictional committee, and so we appreciate you circulating that email, and I think everybody's pretty much on the same page, so thank you. Would any of you, oh, sorry.
Just a quick question. Did anybody get the email on American Bail Coalition today?
I'm not sure, Scott.
It was regarding a New York Times editor.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
did?
I got it.
Okay. They're estimating New Jersey or bail reform cost them $1 to $2 million estimate per county. Wow. In New Jersey.
No.
New Jersey, the county sued. The county sued the state unsuccessfully, but that's what their cost is. They really lost on a technicality, but that's what they were trying to recover is some of the cost of the mandate. But so
Huge impact.
It's real. The deal's real on this thing. It's going to cost money. And they talk about all kinds of pretrial and prevention, detention in there. It's interesting article. If you email, if you didn't get it, I'll forward it to you.
Huge impact and takes away from a lot of the things that we are supposed to be doing in government too.
Yeah, just with the listserv, we're seeing example after example of cases that can be dealt with a little differently as we speak today, but suggesting of January 1, some of these rather horrendous things with people being killed on the roadway and mugged in their homes, people will walk away, number one, and be arraigned. But number two, which was something on television last night, what I found interesting was the person being charged can go back into the home, or wherever the victim is, to look at that situation again, which is adding insult to injury. But so I think there's a lot of, if well-intended on the front end, a lot of wacky circumstances that are uncontrollable and shouldn't exist. And that's why the resolution.
Well done story. Yeah. Thank fellow legislators that aren't in committee for coming. Is there anything that you'd like to add? Or?
Go ahead.
Mr. Martinelli?
Thank you for recognizing me, Chairman Reed. Just two comments on the criminal justice reform. I mean, it took 2 years, or was it 3 years to implement to raise the age? And this, between April and January, we got to change all this. And I mean, that observation is, pardon?
There does seem to be a rush.
Yeah, I don't, and the other comment is that I saw in the news, some media outlet, I don't know where, but the Conference of Mayors is on board with exactly what's going on in Warren County, the same logic, because all the cities and villages have the same problem. Well, how do you do 15-day discovery stuff if you've got a one-person police department for every speeding ticket? Just a comment. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Mr. Pack?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for recognizing me. But, yeah, I think I saw the same media story that Mr. Hageman is referring to. I think the one thing, insult to injury beyond, allowing defense to come back to, map out your home is that the comment was also made that the homeowner could be penalized if they do not allow them back in. That kind of goes back to what I had mentioned when Christina was here, is that your home is your castle. You have the absolute right to say who can and can't be in your house, and that is just infuriating and outright eliminating your protection within your home. I mean, that's almost as bad as what the Constitution is supposed to protect you from troops being housed in your home, to allow somebody who's criminally assaulted you to go back into your home after the fact. So I think there's gross violation even in that in itself, too. But that's that. And second question, though, I think there's been a lot of communication, obviously, concerning recycling waste management as of late, and just to ask a couple questions, and that is obviously, I know some other legislators have had their supervisors make calls to them. Obviously, mine also called me. I think his primary concern was more or less on timing of it, and I reminded him that, this was the budget mechanism that was done last year, but outside of the letter that Sarah had sent to us, was there any other communication before that particular letter to inform them that this was going to be happening at some point?
Not that I'm aware of, or certainly in any official capacity, but actually, the last thing on my agenda is to bring that forward. Jim is here to do just a little update. One, to explain what we had been doing and why we're reverting back to what we had been doing. We did have these discussions a year ago, in the last budget cycle, to talk about it, but for other reasons made conscious decisions not to step forward at that time. I'd like to say we're perfect. We're almost perfect. This was something that got out, and we should have given a little bit more advance notice. It was well-intended, but it was just too late in the game, I think, for the town to be able, or at least most towns, adjust a little bit. So, but anyway, I think we want to make sure everybody understands what we're proposing to do, kind of refresh everybody's memory from a year ago, and then make a decision on next steps. So, Jim, why don't you come up to, good lead-in, John, to come up and talk about that a little bit.
I don't know what, do I thank you, John, or not?
Maybe.
Maybe. Just a little past history. This was, we did have a charge for a pickup for recyclables back in 2013 and before. I think it's something that was on what Mike Caskin presented or had on his route down at solid waste. And in 2013, because of we were doing well up there. As a matter of fact, we were making $800,000 as far as revenue. And it's kind of like the scenario, pass it on to your consumers if you're doing well, and that was the intent there. And it was twofold also. Twofold was being as when the recycling market was good back in 2013, some of the townships, which you can't blame them, they were spinning off some of the recyclables. So some of the people that were bringing us some of the recyclables, you know, they were doing their due diligence to us to keep us solvent, keep us running. And some of them say, well, this guy is giving me, you know, a little bit more money, or, you know, for the newspapers here. And they were spinning off on it. So what we did is we kind of presented to the townships, mainly to the highway superintendents, but the supervisors were involved also, that if you give us all your recyclables, we'll pick it up for nothing. And that was presented to them in 2013, and that's what we progressed to do. This continued up to, well, I think we made the presentation last year that recyclable is not profit-making anymore. As a matter of fact, I just got figures today where if they want to give us nothing, I had some calls from townships who were trying to market some of that stuff themselves, and said, what are we going to do with it? We can't get rid of it. And I said, I can't get rid of it either. So it's a difficult situation when we make a phone call and say, how much is our plastic worth? We do some marketing out there, and plastic is worth absolutely zero. They say, we'll come and get it, but we aren't paying you anything. Very difficult market to be in. What we tried to do is, we tried to implement this last year, but we also wanted to review it for another year, so that's what we did. The town superintendents, they knew about this was coming. It was proposed in the 2019 budget, and we decided that maybe we'll just hold off and see where the market really is going. And we found out where the market is going, and it's going nowhere, or actually getting worse as we speak. To stay solvent out there, and this was not only to help ourselves to stay solvent, it was also to help the townships, like I mentioned before. They have no other answer. They have no place to take the material. There is no other answer. We are their only scapegoat. I shouldn't say scapegoat, but we are their only other option. And for that, we're trying to stay solvent ourselves too. So what we did is implemented that pickup fee. And actually, the pickup fee we implemented is nowhere near the charge that was being charged for them before 2013. We put $50 a ton, or $50 a pickup fee on that. Twofold. Number one, it kind of gets them, so every time we go out, it's a couple $100 for us just to pick it up for nothing. So, and now we're going to charge $50. That's just to recoup some of the costs that we are actually spending for that. And like I mentioned before, we are not making it up in the revenue of the recyclables anymore. So, like I said, it kind of gives them the idea that maybe maybe I can fill that bin instead of calling the highway or calling the recycling facility and I only have a half a bin and we're picking up for nothing. Maybe it gives them a second thought that we'll fill that up. So it was twofold, believe it or not, to keep it solvent and also to make it cost effective and efficient for us also and for them also. I know the timing wasn't right. Possibly it could have been handled a little bit better. Our goal was we did present it in the budget and presented it as a department head requisition. And actually, we kind of jumped the gun because we actually went and sent the letters out before it was even passed the actual budget by the Board of Legislators. So we knew that they had a timeline too. We thought October 15th, knowing that it had the budget officer, it was in the budget officers, and we figured when Bob says yes, I'm good to go. But that isn't always the case. I appreciate it, Bob. So, but we kind of jumped the gun, and we did send a letter. But I hearing that it was a little bit too late for their budgets. I thought October 15th would be, receptive enough. They'd pass the budget in November, but the letter was sent out October 15th before the budget. So, whether we implement it, when we implement it, I guess that's up to the Board of Legislators too. But that's where we stand with that, and willing to entertain any questions. And I talk fast, I know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jim, what kind of dollar are we talking about per town, roughly? I know all the towns are going to be different, but rough numbers are, like, say, Town Ellsburg, for example, how
I was
does
going to say,
$50 charge?
we right now, presently, we pick up 23 municipalities. So, and I think this is going to generate about $90,000 to $91,000. Depends, and we average about 35 to 40 pickups. It's hard to say, like the town of Lyme, town of Houndsville, town of Clayton in the summertime, almost doubles in the pickups that we have to do there. And, so, to give you a rough figure, I'm guessing maybe $5,200. That'll make up that $90,000 over the 23.
This $50,000 charge is going to be about $90,000 of revenue
That's what we're thinking.
over the 23 municipalities that
That's
were...
correct.
Okay.
And actually, we pick up 3 school districts. We had a couple school districts drop out. Well, JCC dropped out. They went to single source. We had some villages that actually dropped out. They're doing single source, single source.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel for how much it's going to affect the town budgets, obviously.
Each town will be different, but I would say roughly on an average, probably around $5,200 to $5,500 a year. Rough figure, though.
It's important to note in that figure that we're still moving material.
It's very difficult, but
We're
yes,
not
we
getting
are.
charged.
Not getting charged. If you took
But we're still moving
single
material,
stream recycling and took it to Recycle America in Syracuse and threw it all in one bin, they charge you $85 a ton. And that's not including transport. That's just to get rid of it down in Syracuse. Yeah, that's tough. At least we're holding our own. I mean,
That's single stream.
Single stream,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yep. They actually charge you $85 a ton.
the point is we're still able to move material.
Move material, and we have, a source for it.
Mr. Mongelli?
Thank you, Chairman. If this was in last year's budget, didn't they get a letter last year?
We talked to the superintendents, but we weren't going to implement it right at the first of the year because we were going to wait till it went through the full board. Then there was some discussions after that, maybe we look at it another full year. So that's why a letter did not go out. Superintendents knew about it, and superintendents usually handle the recycling facility, but we did not send an official letter to the supervisors because we didn't implement it.
Thank you.
There was another matter being discussed with the towns about this time last year. We wanted essentially the FER to settle. That's pretty good. FER to settle before we really started pushing this other program. It was to benefit everyone, but we just didn't want to pile on, so that's why we made a conscious decision to back off a little bit. We just got a little bit further behind the 8 ball, and probably should have said something out in July for the upcoming year, but...
Legislator Peck.
Thank you. The first still a little rough and champion, The first still a little rough and champion, though, It didn't settle there. But, all right, so you mentioned $5,200 per town was a guess. That's kind of what
That's
the
an average.
supervisor-
It's hard to judge, yeah.
But with 23 participating, that's more $119,000. in income.
That's correct. Ton of work, we probably picked up there, and I got Kyle to help me. We might pick them up once every 2 months, once or twice a year. That's a ton of work, yeah.
Okay.
Town of Champion, Town of Rutland go in together. So we haven't resolved that. Who gets billed, who doesn't get billed, how we separate it, are they going to separate it themselves? So, a lot
Right,
of
which
things
was an
like that.
interesting thing when I saw how recyclables were, the sheet that you had sent to us before on municipalities recycling.
Yes, and I
it
had
looked
that
like,
here, too.
Rutland is just, they're doing terrific. Nobody in Champion recycles. It's like, how
I
do you
know,
come up
it
with
looks
that?
like that, doesn't it?
But, so how much does it cost you to haul away the recyclables at now, at present?
It costs us, and we figure everything by the hour. So an average cost is about $80 an hour. An average run to pick up recyclables, and that's an average because work takes a little bit longer than the town of Luray would be. But we did an estimate of 2 hours, so which is about $160.
Are your runs on a schedule to go pick up the containers, or is it on call, when they tell you that they're full?
Always on call. So
Okay.
it gives them the opportunity to, if they're full, we'll pick it. And that's why sometimes we pick up twice, sometimes in the summertime we'll pick up a township, maybe 3-4 times a week. Yeah.
And that's been part of the problem of late, is Jim's crew's been picking up on a more regular schedule, and it's half a load, it's a quarter of a load. So we're really losing out, everybody's really losing out in that kind of situation. That's why we reverted back to what used to be, intend to do that.
And have you ever gone back through and worked with the towns, like kind of reevaluating needs are for recycling? If somebody's recycling a lot more cardboard than they do glass, do you just, as far as numbers of containers for what product is out there?
We're always asking them, and they're always asking us. I think we gave an opportunity at Town of Lyme to be the next bin for cardboard one summer, and we accommodated them. Not so sure it worked, Bill, but we accommodated them. But,
Jimmy and I have, I'll say, robust discussions about truck costs. So I'm a little higher on them than he is, but just put in perspective, the roll-off truck that we're leasing, that this committee and then moved up to is $6,000 a month. And, right, it's a little over $6,000.
yeah, $6,700 a month.
So, that right there plus service, you're into the 70s.
We're into the $80,000 range. Right there.
before you put a driver in the seat. That's not fuel, that's not bennies and everything else that a driver gets. So that, if you can just put that in perspective, for that's just one truck. We have 2 on the route,
2 and
right?
3 sometimes. Right?
Sometimes 3.
Yeah.
And no, just the one.
Yeah. We had one that's right on the edge of failing, and we're undecided whether we want to invest $40,000 on it, a 15, 18-year-old truck. So that's why we needed the truck put in service right away, so we ended up leasing it. Yeah.
Are we still on that grant list? Are we still number 80 or 90?
No, we actually received that grant.
Did we get, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We did. We
Yeah.
got that grant. Spent. So we can go back in and be at 80 or 90.
Yeah.
Legislative pack.
2 more, I promise.
Okay, no.
All right.
Your world, we're just camping in it.
How long do the recyclables, you say the market's down, are you having to inventory stuff there at the transfer site before it moves out? For how long? What kind of stuff?
To a certain extent, there's only so much room in our facility to do that, but so we have to keep it moving. So we look at the markets and have that opportunity. I can give you a figure of what the markets were today. I asked Jennifer about that, and we tried to do it like probably the material we hold on the most is probably our steel products that people bring in. So we're allowed and we have that capacity to do that. But when you bale cardboard, you can't have it where it's out in the weather. Plastic is a little bit different, but then it starts to, the sunshine ruins the bale. So do we have some stockpile? Yes, but we consider it, constantly try to move it.
It doesn't usually pay to.
It doesn't pay
It doesn't pay to
that.
save it.
Yeah.
You just
Well,
move it.
no, and I presume so because of those very factors. I was just wondering, how quickly you still have enough market to be able to flush it out, to get it out of our system then, and,
Yeah.
and get it somewhere else. But, you know, and I was trying to explain this, you know, the macro situations of recycling and waste management to my supervisor yesterday. So I think he got the gist of it all and the challenges with it. But, you know, and his basic question in return to that is that, you know, would it just be cheaper for me just to pay waste management to have a dumpster there? Everybody just throws everything in there and forget about recycling altogether. It's like,
I've heard that.
You
But
can't.
There's a statute.
It's a
Right.
statute and it's a law, and
Yeah.
But that's the question he asked.
yeah,
You know.
it's difficult when it's getting so that you're going to pay more to get rid of recyclables than you are the actual trash. But it's the right thing to do. But you know, you take trash to the landfill for $45 a ton. If I took recyclables to another Herkimer, I'm paying $85. So it's challenging. Yeah. We're doing the right thing still. And
We are doing the right thing.
We're doing the right thing.
I
Yeah.
think one thing,
Can't lose
John,
sight.
one thing that's good to note is that we have a very central located operation. And so, say, if someone's in a 30-mile radius, you don't have a lot of downtime on your vehicle. You can come and dump on a concrete floor, get in and out relatively quickly, and get your vehicles back on the road. So we do have a pretty efficient operation. That's probably why people are still want to utilize it, because, you know, we're kind of on an island up here. The closest place is 70 miles away, and then you're in a line. When you come to our facility, you know, you dump in the sections and then you're gone. You're back out on the road. Your truck is still moving. It's all about truck time.
We still giving the townships an opportunity. If they want to haul it themselves, we're still taking it for free. So that's an opportunity they can do that too. I know some of them own their own bins. Some of them do have their own roll-off trucks. But somebody mentioned the other day, and I don't want to pick up the town, but somebody said, well, why don't we haul it? And it's just for $50, I can't haul it. It
No.
costs me more to do that. So
And the containers are about $5,000 a piece. So the math starts. I mean, it was still pretty good value.
this is mainly just to stay solvent and to help them out as a source of help them out to help us out. Yeah.
It's going to take a while to figure it out. So I think one thing is, and we all talk about packaging, and it's got to happen at you said a macro level too, but packaging's got to be different. The types of things that are out there that are identified as recycling got to be changed to recycling. It's not just a Jefferson County issue, so it's a big issue that's taken a long time it'll still be a while to figure it all out. Did you have another question? You said
Just a comment to piggyback on that, Mr. Reed, is that, you know, it's just like the other email that I sent out. You have a downstate assemblywoman who's wanting to propose increasing the percentage of recyclables within bottled containers, you know, disposable containers, you know, either twofold. Either it's going to create, you know, because they think they can just create economies out of nothing for social justice reasons, either create economy to create more recyclables going into your products, or it'll just make it so obnoxious that you can't make these products at that standard, and then it just is going to force companies to use a different product to package items with. It's just, you know, you're not creating more industry with recycling when you don't have a place to go with it, because nobody's using it, and China slammed the door shut. So as much as we want to say it's a good thing to do, we're not doing anything with it. You know, we're just creating a bigger waste stream problem that's going to cost everybody more. Might, you know, if you peel back the reality of it, you're trying to make yourself feel good for paying more money that's not really accomplishing anything.
there are products that are sustainable, like paper products and corrugated products and the metal, highly sustainable and have a reusable life many times over. Plastics are a big problem. So, you know, your Cool Whip lid, you know, might end up in Indonesia somewhere. And so you can't paint it really with a broad brush, because there are a lot of products that should be recycled, and they are being done in a good fashion. It's the problematic ones that they got to drill down to, but it's a good point.
But there is an upside. I think it's forced the United States to at least, look, we got to solve this problem.
Absolutely.
And this plastic to oil, I think that's a fantastic thing to look at. So plastic is nothing but oil. So
Okay. Mr. Jarrell?
needs to be cleaned. You're absolutely right. And the cost that goes into doing that. Right.
Legislator Jarrell?
Yeah, I just have one more question. The $6,700 a month for the truck, is maintenance included in that, or are we pulling our own maintenance on that?
No. Since it's being rented, we've taken it to BMAC. What we do with the Mack truck came out of Ohio. So we felt that the service should be provided by an authorized dealer. So that's why we take it there. Believe it or not, it's not much maintenance. I think we spent $600. Sounds like a lot, but we found out the engine oil change on that, 20,000 miles. I've never seen that in my life. That's what they're recommending. So, which is good. You pay a lot on one end, but don't have to.
So any maintenance that we do though is on top of that $6,700 a month, though.
It's about
okay.
600. What do you say, Kyle? Every 3 months, maybe. Yeah.
Well, that's just preventative maintenance, so
Yeah.
at some point in time, no, if some things are probably covered under the lease, some
It
things
is
are
covered.
not.
That's why it's a good program with a lease, with a lease like that, or rental, because anything major is the responsibility of the owner who's leasing that, and we just have to provide that preventive maintenance. I went the long way around and answered, didn't I?
Anything else for Jim? It's complex. It sounds like it's an easy fix, and it's a complex problem, and it's encouraging. I read a lot about it. It's encouraging that people are trying to work together to fix it at all levels. But the China thing is just throwing it into turmoil and had ripple effects in Vietnam and Indonesia and all these places. So it may be a while to fix, but it's encouraging that people are looking at packaging, they're looking at sustainability kinds of things. And Jim's right, we should be investigating all those opportunities.
So the final bottom line question, at this point, we're scheduled to implement the program. Well, we'll kick it in. We can kick it into gear. At any rate, come the first of the year. At what point do we start charging? Given the lateness of our notice, is there a desire to back off a little bit, just to smooth things out with towns, or go ahead and proceed? It's more of an indication. I don't really need formal vote.
Half our committee's not here, but I welcome the chairman's opinion also.
We can
look
send
like
out
you're ready
another
to say
letter to
something.
further embellish what they're doing, because Pat, like you've asked the question of what's it going to be for my town, we could probably convey that kind of information a little bit so they have a better sense. But say it is this $5,200, half a year becomes $2,500.
You want to wait a quarter?
Yeah, I guess I'm talking about show of good faith, because it really was not intended to catch anybody by surprise, particularly because it had been a discussion the prior year. But that was a prior year, and it just didn't surface at the budget time. And for some towns, this will be more of an impact than other towns, obviously.
Yeah, my inclination is to go forward as Mr. Lawrence stated. That's my inclination. I don't think we really need to go in and look for a lot of feedback. I think, I personally haven't had any backlash from it. I don't think I'm going to. I don't think Mr. Lawrence has had any backlash from my district anyways.
No, not at all.
So my inclination is go forward.
Mr. Perry?
I know I'm in the city, it doesn't affect me, but unfortunately,
I was going to skip over you, but go ahead.
free can't last forever. I mean, it costs money to run these trucks and people in them, and $50 I think is more than reasonable. And I know I'd be happy to take a bin at the store and pay you $50 to pick it up, because I do pay a lot more than that to have mine picked up. But one time, I think the county was fair when times were good. They cut back and they weren't charging, but that's something that anybody knows that free doesn't last forever. So, I really think that it's reasonable to start now. I mean, they should have kept it on the radar because it is costly to do, and, Jimmy's gotta keep the tractors running to keep things going, and $50 isn't even gonna pay the person to fuel the truck, so I'm good with it.
And I'm in concurrence also. $50 is a real bargain for that service. And if something ever changes, we can come back and revisit it again. And I think we're just trying to
Hold on.
hold on a little bit there. So I appreciate your efforts. And you have been communicating with your counterparts at the town level also. It sounds like that they know that this was going to be inevitable someday. So, but I think it still shows a really good faith from what could be a $180 haul or $200 haul for $50 is a pretty good benefit. Would any of you folks like to comment? You good? I knew I shouldn't have meant, but
I thought you were going to at least keep going the round robin here, but you
No.
stopped. But I will just reflect what has already been said. It's more or less a matter of the timing. Was a concern out of my town. He said, if you can delay it a year, that's fine. But obviously consensus is there to go forward. So
Great. All good comments. Oh, Mr. Monticelli.
I just didn't want to be left out.
No, sure.
But my thought is move forward, and the reason being, I mean, they knew about it last year, at least the highway superintendents knew about it, and if it's $50 this year, I can't see it getting better. So we got to start at 50 so we can get to 100.
Oh, let's not go there.
Just pointing it out.
Should have stayed with the committee. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Anything else? Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
And thank you, fellows, for coming to the meeting, or the General Services Committee meeting. Thank you, department heads. Is there anybody else that would like to say anything? Anything else to come before the committee? Motion to adjourn? Mr. Doldo, one of you guys? Just raise your hand, Pat. Mr. Jarrow? All in favor, aye? Thank you for coming.